Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cat Chat Live. My name is Nancy Stevens, and I oversee parent and family communications for the University of Kentucky. Here at UK, we offer Cat Chat Live. We started it a few years ago to educate our Wildcat families on a variety of events and resources and opportunities for students. Many of the Cat Chat Lives are offered with the families of our newest Wildcats in mind, and that includes today's topic, which is a preview of our Big Blue Nation orientations. Many of us on campus are busy preparing for the start of BB&Os next week, and no one more so than our Director of Orientation, McKaylee Kofer, and our first year experience ambassadors, which is our wonderful student orientation team. Today, we've got McKaylee joining us alongside Morgan Blankenship, who is one of our amazing FIAs, and they're going to share everything you need to know prior to attending Big Blue Nation orientation this summer. We really appreciate them being here, especially after their late night cheering on UK baseball to the College World Series for the first time in school history. So as they're presenting, if you're joining us live, use the Q&A feature here in Zoom webinar to ask any questions that you may have, and we'll make sure that they get answered during the time we have together today. McKaylee and Morgan, thanks for taking time out of the BB&O prep to join us for today's Cat Chat Live.
Thank you, Nancy. As Nancy mentioned, my name is McKaylee Kofer. I have the pleasure of serving as UK's Director of Orientation and Outreach, and I'm excited to be here with you all today just to give a little brief information about what to expect, what's coming up over these next 4 weeks of orientation season. So just to start out with, UK, we love our acronyms. So you might hear us talk about BB&Os all the time. So what is that? BB&Os is what we call our BBN orientations. So orientations are the new student orientations and serve as our transition program for new students. All new students do complete an orientation, and for our freshmen, most of those take place this summer over the course of the next 4 weeks. So during orientations, students get to look forward to, they get to register for classes, and they get to meet other new students and make those connections. They get to connect with a variety of campus organizations and offices. They get to connect with their academic advisor and their academic college. I do think it's important to note that while a lot of this is student focused, there's programming throughout the entire day for both students and their families. So we'll get more into the full schedule of the day here in a couple of slides, but just kind of want to level set that is what orientation is that transition program, helping students and guests answer their questions and welcome you into the Wildcat family. So a few of the common questions that we get. One of our questions is how many students attend each orientation? So over the summer for our freshmen, we will have 14 different freshman orientation programs. They are a one-day program, and each program we anticipate seeing around 300 to 350 students, as well as their family members and their loved ones along with them. So quite a big day, but really exciting days as well. Another common question is, do parents really go? Yes, I will say most students do bring at least one parent or guest along with them. We do encourage it. Parents and families are not required to go, but we do have a variety of information and programming that goes on for both students and family members throughout the entire day. Can you leave early? So you might notice that the schedule, when students registered for orientation, the time was from about 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. Really, most students will be done for the day by 4:30 at the very latest. The earliest someone would be able to leave is kind of around 3:30. That is when students register for courses in the afternoon. And so it really depends on the time it takes for a student to register for courses. But 3:30 is pretty much the earliest that someone would be able to leave for the day. If there are any special circumstances or situations, you can reach out to our office and we can help you reschedule to a new date if need be. And kind of work on a case-by-case basis with that. And then last question, will my student register for courses? Yes, so during the day, students will meet with their academic college as well as advisors, and they will work right alongside them to help them register for courses. They're not going to be thrown off on their own to try to register and have to do it all on their own. They'll have UK staff members and advisors alongside them to help them register for the classes to stay on their degree path. So I mentioned that there's programming throughout the day for both students and families. There's some of the programming you'll do together, but there's also programming when students split up into student-only groups specifically for families. There's specifically 2 times during the day that we have those. The first one takes place in the morning. It's called Supporting Your Wildcats. Students will split up into their Big Blue Crews, which are small student group meetings led by one of our first-year experience ambassadors, a current student. And while students are connecting with other new students and connecting with that first-year experience ambassador, parents and guests will stick around for Supporting Your Wildcat. It's a great presentation led for the most part by Nancy Stevens of our parent and family team, and that talks about all the different resources available to your student while they're here on campus. It's great. It provides a wealth of information for parents and families, and is a great presentation. Then in the afternoon, students will split up and go to course registration. During that time, parents and families will have what we like to call our What I Wish My Family Knew student panel. This is one of the best bits of orientation. We always get the best feedback about this student panel, that it is the session that parents are most glad that they attended. Current students, our first year experience ambassadors, will be there to take any and all of your questions that you ask while your student is registering for courses. You all can ask some really interesting questions during this time, but our first year experience ambassadors are great about sharing their experiences and answering your questions to the best of their ability. So those are our 2 specific parent and family programs that we take place during the day while students are in their student-only groups. So I'll run through the schedule a little bit. I do want to preface that this schedule that I'm about to run through is for our freshman programming. This summer, we also have orientations for our transfer and our readmitted students. We'll touch on that schedule just a little bit later on at the end of the presentation. That schedule is a little different, but the schedule we're about to run through is mainly for our freshman students. So check-in does take place pretty early. We get y'all here early in the morning. It is a long day, but there's lots of good information that takes place. So check-in is open from 7:30 until 8:15 in the Gatton Student Center. You can check in anytime during that period, but then the welcome will start at 8:30, so you'll need to be here by 8:30. The welcome is a presentation. You'll get to hear from a senior member of administration, and we'll run through the schedule for the day, and then you'll get to learn a little UK tradition. After that, students are going to go to their Big Blue Crew meetings, which I mentioned are those small student group meetings with other students in a similar college or major to them. And then guests, you'll stick around for that Supporting Your Wildcat presentation. I do want to mention that we also have a Spanish language version of this Supporting Your Wildcat presentation. So for any parents or guests that would be interested in the Spanish language session, we do have one session taking place at the same time as the English language version. Both of those are going to be in Gatton Student Center. After that, at 10:45 a.m., we have our student success sessions. So student success sessions are 30-minute sessions given by a variety of different campus offices and organizations at UK. The goal behind these is to introduce students to the resources and the support systems that are going to be there while they're here at UK. There's about 10 or 11 different offices giving a presentation that you get a chance to hear from. We'll get through where you can see the schedule of it later on, but you can see all of those different offices presenting during that time. You do only get to, they only run once. So lots of times students and guests will split up to hear from multiple different offices, since you can only go to one session during that time. Some examples: Fraternity and Sorority Life gives a session, Education Abroad, there's some on transformative learning, on internships, a variety of different offices presenting on the support systems that they have. After that, it's time for lunch, starting around 11:20, 11:15. Lunch is at Champions Kitchen. It's all you care to eat dining hall. That morning you'll get a meal voucher, which will get you into Champions Kitchen, so you don't need to worry about bringing any money to pay for lunch. During lunch, we'll also have some optional sessions presented by the Lewis Honors College, as well as Financial Aid and Scholarship Office. There's also the opportunity to ask questions from housing and dining. The dates list during lunch was about 11:15 until 12:30. The afternoon session at 12:45 is when we have our family and student college meetings. These meetings are great. It's a chance for you to learn about your student's admitted college as well as the student itself. There are a couple different colleges that split up families and guests during this time, but regardless of what college your student is a part of, you will have a chance to hear about a 30-minute presentation from your students admitted college. After that, about 1:15, that's when students will start splitting up to go to advising and course registration with their college. At this time, parents and guests, you'll go and attend the What I Wish My Family Knew student panel. At 2:45, we begin our resource fair that takes place in the Gatton Student Center. The resource fair, we have over 55 different offices tabling to answer any questions that you may have. They pass out some great swag items, but it's a chance for you to walk around and get acquainted with some offices and organizations that you have any questions to. During that time, we'll also have a residence hall open house. It'll take place in Jewel Hall and Roselle Hall, so right across the street from the Student Center. In Jewel Hall, you'll have the opportunity to view a model room of the tryout room space. And then in Roselle Hall, you'll have the opportunity to view a model room of the 4-person suite style. So those are your 2 options of residence halls to view. We unfortunately don't have the ability to go see any of the other residence halls. They do undergo pretty deep cleaning over the summer in preparation for students moving back in. But those are the 2 model rooms that we do have the opportunity to view this summer. And then at 4 p.m. today on orientation days, we have living learning program sessions. So about 3 of our different living learning programs will be giving a presentation. So if your student is participating in one of those, we would encourage you to go. Dana Linick will also be giving a session on primary recruitment information. That's kind of a very quick rundown of the orientation schedule. You can view the full schedule in the UK Guides app, which in a little bit we'll get to a QR code where you can see that iGuides app. It's open, it's live now for you to view the full program with descriptions and locations for everything that's taking place during the day. That's kind of a brief overview. But now I'm going to turn it over to Morgan. She is one of our fantastic First Year Experience ambassadors. I'm so excited that I get to work with on a daily basis. She's going to talk about her own orientation experience as well as how her parents and her family members best supported her during that time.
Hi everyone, I'm Morgan. I'm a senior here, so my orientation was kind of a long time ago, but I do remember it like it was yesterday just because I had such a great experience. And I would argue that one of the best things that happened was my mom being there for me. My mom being the supporting her Wildcat. I would argue that that was her most important job of the day. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about, what you can do and what my mom did for me. The first one, read their energy and mood and try to act accordingly. So every student is different. Like the way that I acted may be different than how your student acts. I was very nervous. I'm a little nervous right now, but I was very nervous. So my mom, asked me questions, which we'll get to that in a second. She asked me questions about what was going on. She was very supportive. She was very calming. She was a very calming presence. So she acted according to how my mood was. Divide and conquer. So as McKaylee stated earlier, there are student success sessions that are going to be happening right after the Big Blue Crew. They only happen all at the same time. So it's very important that, if your student wants to go to education abroad, fraternity and sorority life, the Transformative Learning Center, if there's something that they want to see during that time and they just can't do it, it's good to kind of spread out. And you're also going to be at multiple different buildings. This orientation season is a little bit different than it has been in the past. So if you had a student that you've brought before, it's going to look a little different just because we don't have Whitehall Classroom Building where a lot of the student success sessions used to be. So you're already going to be at these different locations. So it's good to just divide and conquer. Let them take the lead and do the talking. My mom was very much so like this. I would ask her a question and she was knowledgeable about it, but she would also be like, I don't know, Morgan, you should ask. So me taking the lead kind of gave me a good opening into my college days because, my mom's not always going to be here. You're not always going to be here for your student. So me being able to talk to Afaya, to someone that's at the resource fair was very important. So I very much so took the lead and I really appreciated it. Again, as I already mentioned earlier, ask questions instead of telling them what you think that they should do. Because like I said, every single student is different. So making sure that they know what they're talking about is kind of important as well. And then giving them pep talks is much better than, everything's going to be great. And it is a very stressful situation. orientation is a lot, but it's very fun too. And I think that it's important to celebrate that. So yeah, my orientation was awesome. I loved orientation. That's why I come back and I work it every single year. So the most important job, as I already said, for you as a parent, as a guest, as a family, is to support your Wildcat. And these are just a few of the different ways to do so.
Thank you so much, Morgan. So excited and honored really to have Morgan as part of the first year Experience Ambassador team. Glad she had such a great experience to stick around, but she is fantastic and you'll get to meet her this summer as well. I do just want to reemphasize kind of what she mentioned, that this is the student's opportunity to really start building those relationships that they'll have when they're here as a student at UK. So take it from Morgan, who's experienced herself as a student. This is really the time to start that transition for students and kind of letting them take the lead and do what asking them the questions and prompting them is what we have found to be the most beneficial for students over the time. Right. So I wanted to touch on a little about advising and registration. So like I mentioned, advising and course registration does start taking place in the afternoon of the student's orientation date. So on the student's orientation date is when they will be registering for their fall courses. Touching on what I said before, this is a great opportunity for students to start forming those relationships that they'll have with their advisor in their college when they're here on campus. I know you parents, families, loved ones, you're experts in a lot of things, but you might not be experts in the nearly 200-degree completion pathways that UK has to offer. Your student's advisor is that resource and is going to be that resource for them when they're here on campus. So it's great for them to start building that relationship on their orientation date. I do think it's important to remember that while students will be registering for classes on their orientation date, they might not have all their questions answered, and that's okay. They can still get in touch with their advisors after orientation. They should leave orientation with at least some knowledge of who to get in touch with, whether that be their specific advisor, their college's advising center, but they can still get in touch with their advisor after orientation and make changes, ask any questions they have. So it doesn't have to all happen right on that one day. I did think I saw a question in the chat about kind of advising dates or course registration dates in relation to advising and course registration and their orientation date. We do get to work closely with our classroom scheduling office and our registrar's office to make sure that any student, regardless of which orientation date that they attend, that there's class availability for what they need to stay on their degree path. So whether that means the students coming to our very first orientation on June 17th, or is coming to one of our very last orientations that take place in August, students will be able to register for classes needed to stay on their degree path. We do have a couple of reminders. The first and most important thing that you might have heard previously is Canvas. So Canvas is UK's learning platform. It's where when students start attending classes in the fall, that's where they'll communicate with their professor, they'll receive announcements about their classes, it's where they'll submit assignments. So to start getting students acclimated to Canvas, they also have an orientation course in Canvas. All students have been added to this Canvas course. They can access it at uky.edu/Canvas, but there are a few modules in this Canvas course that students will want to complete prior to orientation, at least 7 days prior. In particular, there's an advising prep form. This is a form that asks all about the student's academic interests, about any credit that they're incoming and bringing in. But this information will go to the student's academic college so that they are prepared to meet with them on the day of their orientation. So it's very important that students complete this Canvas course at least 7 days prior to their BBNO. The next reminder is a laptop or tablet. If possible, students should bring a laptop or tablet or an iPad to use for course registration in the afternoon. The course registration system doesn't really work too well on smartphones, so we do need to have a laptop or tablet if possible with the student so they can register for courses. Next reminder is attire. It is important to dress comfortably and casually. You should expect to walk some moderate distances, like Morgan alluded to. Programming takes place in a couple of the different buildings across campus. So you'll be walking outdoors a little bit across campus. So keep that in mind with what you plan to wear for the day. Bring with you, check the weather, see if it's raining and you might need to bring an umbrella. Keep that in mind as you prepare to come to orientation. Where to stay? We are really excited that our housing and our summer conference housing office, they provide the opportunity to stay on campus if you so choose the night before and the night of your orientation. You would stay in Jewel Hall, which is right across the street from the Student Center, so you don't have to wake up so early in the morning for that 7:30 to 8:15 start. It is $37 per person per night. If you do choose that option, you can find more information in your student's Canvas course. There's a link that will take you right to where you can make those reservations through our summer conference housing office. You're not required to stay on campus. You're also welcome to stay in a hotel if that would better fit your situation and your needs. There's a couple hotels near campus. You can explore hotel options through visitlex.com, but that's where you can choose a hotel, stay in a residence hall if you do need to come up early or stay an additional night. Parking. So parking, we have free parking in Cornerstone Garage. There's no charge to it. The gates will be up. That's 409 South Limestone in Lexington, Kentucky. It's about a 5-6 story garage. And then there's a pedway on the 3rd floor that you'll cross to make your way to the Student Center for check-in in the morning. Last is the UK Guides app. So as I mentioned, this app is where you will find the full schedule. It is live now. The schedule is in there. You can find descriptions, locations, everything. So you're welcome to go ahead and start planning out your day, planning out those student success sessions that you want to attend, any of those optional lunch sessions. You can check it all out and start planning your day in that UK Guides app. You want to make sure to have it downloaded. We don't have any printed programs or schedules that we will give out on the day of your orientation. So you will have that app downloaded to be able to navigate throughout the day. It's also going to be campus maps in that app, so you can help navigate across campus to all of the different locations. This Guides app is also where the K-Week schedule, so UK's Welcome Week in August will be. And it's also where the Family Weekend schedule will be for Family Weekend in September. So it's a great little app for different programmings around UK's campus. All right. Last little reminders is that we are here to help you. If there's any requests for accommodations or interpreters, if you could email orientation@uky.edu, ideally at least a week prior to your orientation, we can arrange those for you. If you have any questions about majors, deadlines, major changes, anything like that, we're here to help, as well as changing the numbers of guests attending. Those are some common questions that we get. You can always reach out to orientation@uky.edu and we can best help you out. All right. With that, I think I'm going to open up the chat, see if there's any questions that I can help answer.
Yep, McKaylee, there are a lot of questions. Folks have been typing questions as we go, and myself and then Taylor Blair have been behind the scenes answering as many of them as we can, but we got a few more to go. The first one is about obtaining student ID. So what can you share with us about getting an ID?
Yeah, so the ID office is actually transitioning to mobile IDs this year, which is really cool. It's real nifty. It's kind of similar to the credit card that you can have in your Apple Wallet or your phone wallet. Your student ID will be on that phone as well. Students should expect to receive some more communication about that mobile ID this summer, but they're welcome to go ahead and download the GET app. So GET, the emblem is a black square with the white GET app on it, and they can upload their picture. They can go ahead and do that, but that is where that mobile ID credential will be this fall, and they can expect to receive more information about that this summer. But there's no need to get that physical ID during orientation. That mobile ID is kind of the path moving forward.
We also have a couple of questions about academic advisors and the timing of assigning those and where they'll be able to see who their student's academic advisor is.
Yeah, so every college really does academic advising a little differently. There are some colleges that have gone ahead and assigned academic advisors. There's some that wait until after orientation to do that. I will say that every student should be receiving an email from their college a week prior to their orientation, just kind of giving them a little more guidance on how their specific college does course registration at orientation, what to expect. But each college does it a little differently, but it should be within a few weeks after their orientation, every student will have that advisor assigned that they can see in MyUK. But even before then, students at orientation will receive information on how to best get in contact with their college or with their specific advisor for after orientation if they have any questions.
This next question that we have is related, and it's about how advisors have access to dual credit and AP test scores, and so how they'll have the most up-to-date information about every student as they're working with them through the course registration process.
Yeah, so there's kind of two ways that we ask for. One is that students want to be sure that they send any final transcripts they have, both from their high school, as well as if they did complete any dual credit, we'll need that final transcript from the institution where they received the dual credit from. All of that needs to be sent to the UK admissions officer or admissions office as soon as you can, so we can have that on file so that we can equate any of that dual credit or transfer work that we need as soon as possible. The other thing that students will want to do is complete that advising prep form that's in their Canvas course. That course or that advising prep form asks a bunch of questions on what dual credit they're coming in with, if they took any AP classes, IB classes, CLEP classes. All of that is asked in that advising prep form, which goes straight to the student's academic college so that they are prepared to meet with them. We do ask if at all possible this is completed at least 7 days prior to their orientation, so that the college does have ample time to prepare to meet with your student.
Here's another advising type question. Where can folks see a list of courses if they want to review something before orientation?
Yeah. So students register for courses in their MyUK portal, which is also where you would have registered for orientation. Their Canvas course actually goes through a great tutorial about MyUK, about the course registration process, how to search for classes. But within MyUK, there's the degree planning and registration tab. And through there, you can see the schedule of classes, which is the full listing of classes for the fall semester. So students are welcome to go ahead and start looking through classes, planning some out. They just won't be able to actually register for those courses until the day of their orientation.
Sorry, I was trying to multitask. I'm trying to answer questions behind the scenes and also review them as they're coming in. There are a lot of questions, which is really great. So I've seen this a couple of times today, and both in the webinar and in our Cat Chat family community, asking about technology. So maybe this is a question that Morgan can answer, because all these students will get an iPad during K-Week in August, but folks are wondering if the iPad is enough or if students should have a laptop or what you recommend there.
This is really awesome because ITS just came and talked to us this morning. So I have a great answer for you. It's very much so up to the college. You pretty much on every single one of the college's websites, they will give you a recommendation on what they want. I'll talk from my personal experience. I am a political science and media arts and studies major, so it's not very data heavy. I do a lot with like arts and writing. So I found that a MacBook worked really well because yes, I get an iPad through the university. And if you know of the Apple ecosystem, they work really well together. So I can airdrop things pretty much, like simultaneously from each other. But I've heard from a lot of STEM students that like a Mac, not a Mac, but another type of device is much better. So a lot of people can get around just using their iPad. And if so, I think that that's great. But I would definitely look into your college. On almost all of their websites, it'll give recommendations on what they recommend based on each major.
All right. So I'm also seeing some questions that pertain a little less to the orientation experience and more to the kind of questions that we see in the What I Wish My Family Knew student panel. So I'll stick for now with some of the ones that are more orientation specific. So one that we have here is about whether families and students should talk to financial aid prior to Big Blue Nation orientation, or if there's enough time during the day when they're part of the program to get information from them then. What do you recommend there, McKaylee?
I would recommend the financial aid office is open right now, 8 until 4:30 until 5. I think they might have some expanded hours. But you're welcome to go ahead and get in contact with them to figure out any kind of last minute financial aid things, if there's anything that you need to sign, documentation that's missing, as well as any questions. You don't have to wait until orientation. So I don't think you shouldn't have to wait to figure all of that out, but financial aid will be represented a couple of times. They'll be there and they'll give that 30-minute session during lunch. This one is more of just kind of a general FAQ session as well as a brief Q&A. They'll be at the resource fair in the afternoon at a table for you to ask any individual questions to. But you are welcome to go ahead. You can make one-on-one appointments with them. You can do online Zoom appointments, phone appointments as well. But would encourage you, if you have some more in-depth questions, go ahead, reach out to that office and ask them that. Now, the orientation day is a long day. There's a lot of information that happens as well. So you shouldn't have to feel like you have to wait to get it all figured out until then.
Got a question here about placement tests and how do they know whether their student needs to take a placement test prior to orientation?
Yeah. So that Canvas course, you'll find that I refer back to it quite a bit. That Canvas course does include information about where a student can check to see if they need to complete a placement exam. They'll be able to check that in their MyUK portal under their advising profile. They'll be able to see if they meet all of the APP standards. On their advising profile, it'll let them know if they do need to take either the ALEKS or the AccuPlacer placement exams, or if they don't. Your student, if they do need to take a placement exam, should have also received an additional letter along with their acceptance letter on that placement exam info. But you can always double check in that MyUK portal and in that Canvas course to see where to go check.
And just to clarify, have all students already received the link to the Canvas course in their UK email at this time, or will they be getting that if they've got a July orientation date? Will that be coming in the next few weeks?
Yeah, so all students have been added to their Canvas course. It would have come through as an email from UK Canvas inviting them to join their orientation Canvas course. We'll also be sending out some reminders through the mail as well as email about this Canvas course. So if you do have a later July orientation, you might not have received those few reminders just yet, but all students do have access right now.
So getting back to advising, I've got a question about if students select a class or a section of a class in the degree planner, does it hold their seat for them?
It does not. We kind of like to compare course registration and planning courses to a shopping cart. So when you go and you plan the course, it adds it to your shopping cart, but you haven't checked out just yet until you get to click that register button at orientation. So it does not save that seat for you. So if it is something that you want to do, you're welcome to kind of go back and check the courses. If you go ahead and plan now, but your orientation is not for a few weeks, you're welcome to go back and you can see the course availability as it gets closer to your orientation date. I do want to reemphasize that your student will be working alongside their academic college. So if a course does fill up, their advisor in their college will be there to help work them through and the best solution to have them stay on their degree path.
I have a question about what if the student is undecided on their major or their college? Morgan, I don't know if that's something that you came in or if you were set on a major or college, that may be something that you can speak to, or otherwise, McKaylee may have some advice on course registration if your student's not entirely sure what they want to do.
This may be a McKaylee, like for the technical things, this might be a McKaylee question. I actually, right before, I may have been one of those people that really messed up McKaylee's schedule. I was one of the people that came in and changed my major right before I came to orientation. So I may have been one of the people that are like, I need to go to this college, but luckily I was within the same college. I went from integrated strategic communication to media arts and studies. And you know, it's okay to like not know what you're going to do yet. There's a lot of time. I know specifically in the College of Communication and Information, a student's given 2 years to decide on what major that they want to join. But I think that it might be different for each individual college. But I think McKaylee has probably better answers for like the technical parts.
Technical parts. I love it, Morgan. This actually brings up a great point that I forgot to mention, that students are not able to change their major on their orientation date. The deadline to change their major is a week prior to their orientation, just so kind of as we mentioned that advisors in their college can prepare to meet with your student. So we can't have any major changes during that kind of week in between prior to their orientation. But that's not to say that their major is set in stone on that orientation date. Students are still welcome to change their major after orientation. If after they come and they meet with their college, they can talk it through with their advisor and their college as well, but it's not set in stone that day of orientation. So they're welcome to make changes afterwards later on this summer. The registration window will open back up in mid-July, so they're welcome to make changes to their schedule as well later on. If students are interested in changing their major prior to orientation, they'll do that at go.uky.edu/major change. I know I'm just kind of saying words, so it's not on there, but in their Canvas course, there's information on that major change as well as a link to the form. It's a simple form, takes about 2 minutes to fill out, but they'll want to make sure they do that at least 7 days prior to their orientation so that the admissions office can review it and approve it if your student is eligible for that major change.
Morgan, you mentioned that UK Information Technology came and trained the first year experience ambassadors this morning. So maybe this is one that you can answer. When students come for orientation and have their laptops, are there any technical tools or applications they need to add to their laptop, or is that done when they arrive in the fall?
So I love UK for this. They have so many things that you can add that they have for free. So within my major, I use the Adobe Creative Cloud a lot, and they offer that for free. And you have to go, I can't remember the exact website, someone may remember it better than I do. You have to actually go and download it yourself. But they do offer it. There's a certificate that will last for all 4 years that your student is here, or as long as your student is here. They also offer Word. So the Microsoft Office, they offered that for free as well. But yeah, whatever they have to use, whatever UK offers, they'll have to download it themselves. But it's a really cool program. I think it's awesome. I utilize it all the time.
Oh, I see a question. I'm very excited. Maybe Morgan can speak to this, but I'm happy to as well. What is UK 101 and are all incoming freshmen required to take it? Morgan, did you take UK 101? That's a hint to the answer right there.
I'm gonna break some hearts. I actually didn't take UK 101, but my advisor told me that it was fine. They told me that it was cool, but I really wish that I would have taken UK 101. It's basically like a secondary orientation. So there was a lot of resources on campus that I had no idea and I still don't know about to this day. So I really wish that I would have taken it. You learn about the resources on campus, you learn about study habits, you learn about kind of like, I think you learn about the history. I know a little bit about UK 101, but I didn't actually take it myself. But again, I wish that I would have. I wish my advisor wouldn't have been like, oh yeah, you can drop that, because I think that it would have been very useful to me. But they bring a lot of opportunities to you instead of you having to go out and find them, which I think is really awesome.
All right, yeah, you're breaking our heart just a little bit, Morgan, but we still love you. McKaylee and Taylor and I are all among UK 101 instructors here on campus. So it is an academic orientation course designed to assist first-year students in the transition to college. And as you can tell from Morgan's answer, it is not a required course for most students. A few scholarship programs have a requirement to take UK 101, and some colleges have college-specific orientation courses. I always recommend UK 101 to incoming students because it's kind of like a life hacks class for college and for UK specifically. I also really appreciate that there is a small class of students all going through the same experience together. So you're kind of learning alongside one another, and it's taught by a UK faculty or staff member, and then an older student who has been through the experience and can offer their words of wisdom as well. So I would always put a plug in for UK 101, and I'm glad to hear that Morgan, has just that one UK regret from her time here. There was a question about FERPA and HIPAA access for parents and families. So McKaylee, can you take that one?
I can touch a little bit on it. I do think that Taylor might have put in the link for that FERPA access so that all can see in the Q&A. But FERPA is the Federal Educational Rights and Privacy Act. It is the act that once students enter a post-secondary institution, kind of allows them that privacy, as well as puts the responsibility on your student. And it's kind of where students, that's where they go to advising and course registration on their own. If a student's interested in signing a waiver so that their parent or their family member or guardian can have access to some of that information, you'll want to go to that link that Taylor included in that Q&A. That will explain a lot more about FERPA if you have any questions, as well as can provide some guidance on some of that release information as well. But in order to have any of that information released to you, your student does have to have that release on file to release any information to a parent or guardian.
The most recent question that came in was about how do I make sure my student has the appropriate health coverage since we're out of state? I know that there will be a little bit more information shared at orientation and through UK emails, but if you want to touch on the student health fee briefly, that would be great.
Yeah, so all students are assessed a student health fee along with their mandatory tuition and fees. I believe, don't quote me on this, is $181 per semester. But this is a mandatory fee that's assessed along with tuition and fees as well. It covers the University Health Services, or kind of like a health clinic that covers a lot of those like primary care visits. If your student gets sick and just wants to go visit a doctor to check on that, that's kind of what the student health fee covers. It doesn't really cover any kind of emergent visits, so anything like x-rays, lab tests, ER visits, anything like that, that health fee does not cover it. So we don't necessarily recommend the health fee to replace any insurance that a student has, but that health fee does provide access to those kind of normal physician care visits. I think it does allergy shots and things like that. But that link that was dropped can provide a lot more information on what that health fee covers, what it does not cover, as well as any recommendations for other plans, health plans as well.
And Michaela, are you familiar with what University Health Service wants related to vaccines and immunization records and all that? If not, right, that's one of those detailed questions that we get every so often, but haven't committed the answer to memory. I could drop the link in the Q&A if you're not sure.
That is a great question that no, I'm not sure about it, unfortunately. I'm sorry, but if you could drop the link, that would be great.
Yep, I can do that. That's one of those where I always hate to, if I'm not 100% sure of the answer, hate to say wrong. So folks, you have asked so many great questions. I think, yeah, Taylor and I have been typing furiously behind the scenes to get those. If you have any other questions, please use that Q&A feature to get those in. But while they're putting those last minute questions right there, would love to hear both from Michaela and Morgan, any other final advice, either for new students getting ready to go through their Big Blue Nation orientation or for the families. So any last words of wisdom there?
I can go first. Like I said earlier, I think that's very important for, as you know, parents and families and guests to support your Wildcat. But I would also recommend that for your student, I'm not sure if we have any students watching or not, to just really embrace this. This is a really big moment. It's a really big change. And, you know, I'm a senior now, and I remember my orientation like it was yesterday because that's how amazing that I tried to make it. I got so many new resources. I got a lot of advice. So just like embrace the change and embrace college because, you know, I'm about to graduate and that's crazy. I don't like the G word that much, but I'm about to graduate and, you know, like continue on and just embrace the moment. Like it goes by really fast. You might think that it won't, but it does.
Morgan, I don't like talking about the G word with you either. Very sad to think about. But that was all great information. Yeah, embrace the moment. It is a long day, and we do know that there's a lot of information thrown at you. So I do want to emphasize kind of 2 points on that. Is that one, you don't have to remember all the information that's given to you at orientation. Those offices and organizations, they're here all summer. They're here all of the years that your student will be here at college. So it's okay if you forget something, if you miss something. We'll still be here to answer any of the questions you have. Kind of along those lines, all the questions asked here were great, really putting me to the test there. But all of the questions asked here can be answered at orientation as well. Like I mentioned, we have the student success sessions. We also have over 50 offices and organizations at the resource fair. They'll be here to answer any questions that you have. I think we have the list of the resource fair tables already in the guides app, so you can already see who's going to be there as well to answer your questions. So check that out. Lots of questions that can be answered there as well from the experts. That is not me, unfortunately.
Right? I think with our jobs, we have to know a little bit about a lot of different areas on campus. And so, yeah, there's times where it's best to go hear directly from the experts, and the orientation schedule is set up to do just that, both through the student success sessions and through the resource fair for sure. McKaylee, earlier you touched briefly on the transfer orientation experience and how it's different from our incoming freshman experience. If we have any transfer families of transfer students on the webinar, what can they expect from their transfer orientation experience?
So the transfer orientation is a little bit different, given that you all are coming from previous institution. The orientation is only a half day. You do still have that resource fair that has over 50 different offices tabling. That resource fair is actually in the morning though, as opposed to in the afternoon. You'll still have a welcome presentation where you'll learn a lot about those campus resources and offices and organizations. And then you will split up and you'll meet with your college for advising and course registration. During that time, parents, guests, family members, you'll also have that supporting your Wildcat presentation led by Nancy Stevens, as well as one of our first year experience ambassadors who is also a transfer student. So you get to hear from their perspective as well. Unfortunately, we don't have that opportunity for the student panel on those transfer orientation dates, but we will be doing a kind of virtual, I think it's through Cat Chat Live, student panel taking place kind of mid-July, end of July, for you to tune into. It'll also be recorded if you aren't able to make that live session, so you can kind of tune into what those commonly asked questions are, as well as the answers from our first year experience ambassadors.
All right, got a few last questions trickling in. This one, which apps or bookmarks should our student have on their cell phones? Information is beginning to overwhelm due to locating info on different platforms, and so we're trying to avoid missing information. I don't think that that is an uncommon sentiment, because there are so many resources at UK, which is great. But I know that especially as you're new to campus and getting familiar with them, it can feel a little overwhelming too. So question for Morgan or McKaylee, what apps or bookmarks should students have to make sure they're getting all the info?
So firstly, I have my email, like I have the email app downloaded on my phone. I have Hotmail. I would have that logged in. I'd have your notifications on. I am really bad about checking my email. Sorry. But that would be something that I would always check. I get the UK Now every single day and I read over it. As for a student, I would have the Canvas app downloaded to your phone. I would get notifications about, classwork. If your student's worried about missing due dates or anything like that, you'll get notifications about that, and you can get all that through the Canvas course, in the Canvas app. And then the last one that I would recommend, like everyone have, is I have My UK. There's a My UK app downloaded to my phone, and I can check, my course registration, my financials, housing, like he's going off, housing, stuff like that. And that's through My UK. So I have all this stuff bookmarked on my laptop as well. Canvas, My UK, and my email, but I have it on my phone just because, like I'm a full-time student, and I think it's important to get information from those resources.
McKaylee, anything you want to add to that, or did Morgan cover all the things?
I think she kind of crushed it. I would say the email app was something that I didn't even think of, but yes, email. Learning to check email a bit more frequently was something when I was a student at UK, I had to grow more accustomed to. So having that app on my phone was great. The Canvas app. There's also the LiveSafe app, or it's kind of like a Life 360, but tailored towards UK's campus. It's a great option for getting in contact with UK campus police, whether anonymously reporting tips, as well as it has the options to kind of track where your friends are walking, or have a friend track you as you're walking home, maybe late one night from the library. That's something I typically recommend for students once they're on campus. Just a great little safety app to have on the phone as well.
All right, Couple more questions trickling in. Students, my student scholarship mentioned something about additional required meetings throughout this semester, study skills, et cetera. Will someone be at orientation to discuss that? So that may be related to CARES. And I haven't memorized that resource fair participant list to see if they're on there.
Yeah, so the CARES program, which is quite associated with the William C. Parker Belonging Scholarship, they'll be giving a student success session. So one of those 30-minute presentations that if your student did receive a William C. Parker scholarship, we would encourage the student or a parent or guest along with them, at least one person, to go to that session. If you aren't able to make it, if you choose to go to a different session, CARES will, I don't know if actually they'll be represented at the resource fair, but that's something I can check on. You can see it in the guides app as well, but they will have that student success session taking place in the morning.
They really liked the information about the apps and are asking if you could repeat every app that you mentioned. I think they're probably trying to furiously take notes as you all are talking. So if you could review the list of apps again, that would be great.
So the first one was I used the Outlook app, which is how I'm logged into my email. My UK, which is how your student would have gotten to orientation and how they register for classes. There's actually an app for it. It's just My UK in the App Store. The LiveSafe app, which is the one that Michaela has mentioned, that's the one I think everybody's really interested in. So that's the one with the safety and contacting UKPD. And then lastly, Canvas, which is how your student is going to be taking their courses, how they're going to get their coursework, messages from their professor, stuff like that. So that's going to be Canvas.
All right, it feels like our time together has I'm about to say zoomed by. Webinar jokes. So we'll wrap up, but want to thank you all for joining us today, both our participants and McKaylee and Morgan, and then of course Taylor behind the scenes helping to answer those questions. You'll get to see all of us in person at Big Blue Nation orientation, so don't hesitate to say hi when you see us. I hope you'll join us for future Cat Chat Lives this summer. I'm planning an entire series from the middle of July till move-in with a couple webinars a week on all of the topics that our incoming families are most interested in. So things like residence hall move-in, life in the residence halls, campus safety, UK dining, K-Week is the second step in the orientation process, and more. I'm putting the finishing touches on that schedule of Cat Chat Lives, and it will be posted soon to our Cat Chat family community, which I hope you all are taking full advantage of as the go-to source of information for UK families. Within the Cat Chat family community, I hope that you're receiving our newsletters. I would suggest that you opt into getting them on a weekly basis. You do have control within the Cat Chat family community about how often you get those, but new information is going in all the time. There are even communities that you can join within the Cat Chat family community, and one is specifically for incoming families attending a summer Big Blue Nation orientation. So that's a place that you can get more information on all of the topics that we have talked about and more. Visit go.uky.edu/catchat to either sign up for the platform or to adjust any of your communication preferences. It's a great place to connect with the university and learn more about everything we have to offer here. As a reminder, you can email orientation@uky.edu with any of your orientation questions. And I encourage you to email parents@uky.edu with any questions that you have about the university, and our parent and family team will be standing by to get you the information you need so that you can support your student. Today's webinar recording will be posted to the Cat Chat family community as well as to our YouTube channel so that you can share it with others who may not have been able to join us live, or if you missed any portion of it and want to go back and rewatch, you can do so there. So McKaylee, Morgan, Taylor, thanks again for your time, and participants, thanks for your time as well. We can't wait to welcome our new students and their families to campus for Big Blue Nation orientation this summer, and we will see you here soon. Thanks, and go Cats.